Roth conversions can be a powerful tax planning tool for retirees, but if done incorrectly, what was supposed to help you save money could end up costing you thousands of dollars. So in this video, I'm sharing with you 6 costly Roth conversion mistakes to avoid in retirement. And the fourth mistake is one that you likely don't know about at all. Hi, my name is Jacob Duke. I'm a certified financial planner and the owner of a retirement planning firm that helps people just like you plan smarter and retire better. And I'm making this video because the first question out of every new client's mouth is, Jacob, I'm wondering if I should be doing Roth conversions to help save money on taxes. And in my time as a retirement planner, I've seen my fair share of Roth conversion mistakes. And the first mistake that I often see is not understanding your current tax situation compared to what your future tax situation will be at some point. You see, Roth conversions mean you're going to be moving money from a tax-deferred account like a traditional IRA into a tax-free account like a Roth IRA. But when you do that, the money that you convert, that's going to count as income in that tax year, and it's going to be taxed as such. So converting at the wrong time could end up pushing you into a higher tax bracket and ultimately cause you to pay more in taxes than you otherwise have to in the future. So since you're electing to pay taxes by doing this Roth conversion, it's crucial to make sure that the tax rate you pay today is less than whatever tax rate you would pay in the future. So as a quick example of a conversion being a maybe bad idea is, let's say you're 55, you're still working, you're making $250,000. Your earned income is already going to be putting you in that 24% tax bracket. And if you convert money at this time, you would likely be paying at least 24% at the marginal level on that money that you're converting, if not more, depending on how much you actually convert, because a portion of that could overflow into that higher tax bracket. Now think about when you're retired at 60 and your income is effectively zero at this point. Two things can happen here. You can simply distribute money from your tax-deferred accounts at a much lower tax rate than 24%, or you could actually be doing Roth conversions and use those lower tax brackets, which again are going to be much less than 24%. And if you look even further down the road, your RMDs might not even be burdensome and may never force you to actually pay 24% on any of that money. So converting at those higher tax rates while you're still working ultimately could be a bad idea. And really what you're trying to do here is you're trying to pay a tax rate today on your conversions that is less than whatever your tax rate would be in the future on your distributions. Mistake number 2 is focusing only on keeping your tax bill low right now and not thinking about the big picture over the next 10, 20, or even 30 years. Now, look, I get it. No one wants to write a big check to the IRS, much less do so willingly, which is what you're doing by deciding to do a Roth conversion. But you have to remember, Roth conversions aren't about saving on taxes this year. They're about lowering your taxes throughout your lifetime by creating a tax-free income for either yourself and your spouse in the future, avoiding those large RMDs, reducing taxes on Social Security benefits, and maybe eliminating Medicare premiums in the future through IRMA, and perhaps even leaving a tax-free inheritance for your kids and grandkids down the road. But the problem that I sometimes see is that people are unwilling to pay tax today to avoid those major taxes in the future, and this is always coming down to not looking at your total lifetime tax bill. There's a reason it's called tax planning, and what you're trying to do here is you're trying to reduce your total taxes throughout your lifetime, not just this year. And by the way, this is what we help our clients do every single day. We create retirement plans that consider everything in your financial life, everything from investments to taxes to Social Security and income planning. And if you're looking for a team to help you plan for retirement, I'm offering a free conversation with me to see if we can help. You can book your call below using the link in the description. Now, as an example of why you should look at the big picture rather than focus on just this year's taxes, let's say you convert $50,000 today and have to pay $10,000 in taxes. Well, obviously cutting a $10,000 check to the IRS isn't fun, but what if that new money in the Roth IRA grows tax-free for 10 years or more and you end up with over $100,000 in tax-free money? Having all that money grow in that tax-free account is way better than letting it continue to compound in that tax-deferred IRA, because if you don't do the conversion, you're just essentially building up a larger tax bill for yourself when RMDs begin in the future. And on top of that, your heirs will very much appreciate inheriting Roth money in the future if you don't spend all of your retirement assets instead of those tax-deferred IRA dollars. The third Roth conversion mistake is failing to consider your entire income plan. And when I say this, I'm not so much talking about how much income you have, like in number 1. I'm talking about knowing how your different income sources in retirement are going to be taxed and how Roth conversions affect them. For example, your Social Security is not taxed like normal income. In fact, if Social Security is your only source of income and you don't have any other earned income or distributions from an IRA, then your Social Security benefits will actually end up being completely tax-free, because at most 85% of your benefits are subject to taxation, but none of your benefits could be if a few things are true. Now, there's a calculation calculation here that has to be done to determine how much of your benefits are subject to taxation. And I've done a video on this before, so you can watch that one after this video to learn a little bit more about that and how that works. It's going to be linked down in the description below. So all that to say, you could be paying no taxes on your Social Security benefits, and a Roth conversion could actually cause you to unexpectedly pay taxes on your benefits. Also, I'm a big fan of tax gain harvesting and the huge tax savings that you can get, but an ill-timed Roth conversion could force you to pay a higher capital gains tax than you otherwise expected. Now, I've talked at length about tax gain harvesting in previous videos, and I will continue to do so, but as a quick overview, what you can do with tax gain harvesting is you can realize long-term capital gains at either 3 different tax rates, 0, 15, or 20%, depending on your income level. And you can see those brackets right here for both married filing jointly and for single tax filers. Now, as an example, let's assume that you're single and you're retired with minimal income and you have some cash that you're living on and maybe some small distributions out of an IRA, but overall your taxable income is pretty low. Now, let's also say that you had some sort of long-term capital gains event this year, and it can be anything. But let's say that you sold your home and because of the appreciation, you sold it for $300,000 more than what you bought it for. Now, this means that the gains are $50,000 more than the actual $250,000 capital gains tax exclusion that applies to personal homes. So that $50,000 will be taxed as a long-term capital gain. Now, back to our other income sources. Let's say that you have $15,000 of IRA distributions that are going to happen this year and you're using cash for the rest of your spending. Now, if we play this out, what would happen here is you would pay no income taxes on the $15,000 of IRA distributions because your standard deduction as a single tax filer, it covers that completely. Now, when you add the $50,000 of capital gains from the sale of your home, that $50,000 will be taxed at either 0, 15, or 20%, depending on your taxable income. And since none of your IRA is taxable due to the standard deduction, your total taxable income is $50,000 from capital gains. And when we look back over at the long-term capital gain brackets for single filers, we can see that from 0 to $48,350, the tax rate is 0%. So the majority of that $50,000 of capital gains would actually be at 0%, and then only a couple $1,000s would be at 15%. Now that's really cool in my opinion. And if we bring this back to Roth conversions and why you have to consider how your income sources are going to be taxed, if you automatically assume that you'd be paying taxes on the $50,000 of gains on that house sale and then did another $50,000 Roth conversion because you heard that Roth conversions help save on taxes, you would have forced yourself to pay about $7,500 more in taxes this year because all of that $50,000 of capital gains would end up being at the 15% rate instead of 0% because the Roth conversion would push you and your total taxable income to about $100,000, putting all those long-term capital gains at that 15% rate. I know this is a basic example and it doesn't consider different factors and variables like interest on cash or dividends, but hopefully you see how understanding your different income sources in retirement are taxed is crucial to making good decisions around Roth conversions. Mistake number 4 is withholding taxes from your Roth conversion when you're under 59 and a half, and here's why. If you're younger than 59 and a half and you withhold taxes directly from the conversion amount, that portion is going to be treated as an early distribution and you're going to owe a 10% penalty on that amount. So for an example, if you convert $50,000 and withhold $10,000 in taxes, that $10,000 is going to be treated like you took the money out early and you're going to owe an extra $1,000 in penalty, which is 10% on top of the tax itself. So think of it this way. Since the amount that you're converting is staying within an IRA, it's going $40,000 going to a Roth, it's just going to go from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. That money is not being distributed. It's actually still in an IRA account. But the tax withholding is leaving the account. It's going to be going to the IRS, so it's no longer in your IRA in any capacity, traditional or Roth. So that's why it's considered an early distribution. So a better plan is to pay the tax from other after-tax savings, whether that be from a checking account or from a brokerage account. And this helps in a couple different ways. The entire conversion amount actually goes into the Roth and starts growing tax-free, and you actually get to avoid that 10% early distribution penalty because you're not withholding the taxes from the conversion amount itself. Mistake number 5 is not investing the money correctly once it's in your Roth IRA. A Roth IRA isn't some magic account that automatically gets tax-free growth. If you just let the money sit in cash, it's not going to grow at all. It has to be invested in a way that helps you take advantage of the account type. This means that you likely want to invest in more growth-focused investments like equities rather than income-focused investments like bonds or cash. Now, I get it. This seems really simple on its face, but so many people that I see are not optimizing their Roth IRAs and taking advantage of that tax-free nature of the account. Really what I'm talking about here is asset location and making sure each account type is invested optimally based on how that account will be taxed. I'll speak more on this in the Q&A section at the end, so be sure to stick around for that. And finally, mistake number 6 is doing Roth conversions when you otherwise don't need to. Now, here's the thing. For some, Roth conversions make perfect sense and they're going to help save thousands of dollars in taxes. But if you don't have large tax deferred account balances, or if your RMDs in the future are going to be pretty manageable, you might pay more in taxes now by doing a conversion instead of just paying the taxes in the future when you have to take the money out. So for example, if you only have $100,000 in a traditional IRA and your RMDs would only be $4,000 a year starting at 73 or 75, you're not going to get hit with huge taxes later. So why would you pay 22 or 24% now to convert if you might only pay 10 or 12 in the future when those RMDs start? So remember, Roth conversions are just a tool. They're not always best for everyone, and you've got to understand your personal situation before jumping in and doing them. Now, you might be thinking, Jacob, some of these things are opposite of each other. They're offsetting these mistakes that you're talking about here. On one hand, you say, hey, converting could actually cause you to pay more tax than you otherwise had to. And on the other hand, you say not doing conversions could cost you big. Well, here's the thing. Both of these things can be true, but it depends on your unique situation. That's why I always recommend taking these ideas and seeing how they apply, or if they don't apply, to your situation. You have to build your plan and tailor it to you, and that's what we do with our clients. So if you're looking for help with your retirement plan, you can schedule a free intro call with me using the link below. Now, on to the Q&A section of the video. The first question is, do you have to be of a certain age to do Roth conversions? And the answer is no. Anyone can do Roth conversions. Doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, how old the account has been, how long the account has been open. All the different rules that apply to Roth IRAs, around 5-year rules and 59.5 and distribution rules, none of those apply for Roth conversions because, again, a Roth conversion is not a distribution from the account. It is simply a movement from one account type to another. So from traditional IRA to Roth IRA. So a lot of people get confused around not being 59.5, therefore they can't do Roth conversions, or you can only convert 7,000 a year or 8,000 a year depending on how old you are because that's the contribution limit. Don't get confused between contributions and conversions or distributions and conversions. All these things are different and there is no age requirement or limit on Roth conversions themselves. The second question is, how much can I convert in any given year? Is there a maximum amount of money that I can convert? And the answer is no. You can convert as much as you would like. You can convert your whole traditional IRA to a Roth IRA in one tax year. Most people get confused here with contribution limits being $7,000 or $8,000 depending on your age, and so they think it can only convert a certain amount of money. That's not true. You can convert all of it if you'd like. Now, whether or not you should or shouldn't do that, that's a different conversation because typically you'd want to do Roth conversions over a sequential number of years, so 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 years, and just say, hey, I'm going to fill up a certain tax bracket you want to target up to that amount every single year. So whether it be 10, 12, 22, or 24%, find the tax bracket that works for you in terms of your overall plan and probably do up to that amount every single year for a number of years rather than just convert the full IRA balance in one single year. The third question is do Roth conversions affect my ACA or health insurance subsidies I might be getting before age 65? And the answer is it would make your income higher, which could cause you to lose out on those subsidies if you qualify for them already without the conversion. So it's something to pay attention to here. Now, what I would say is this: you have to evaluate how much more you're going to pay on a monthly basis for 1 year, right? So if you lose the ACA subsidies, how much would your health insurance premiums cost without the subsidies for 1 year, for 12 months, compared to what your total tax savings might be throughout your life by doing the conversion? And typically the Roth conversion, if it actually makes sense from the start to do it, it's going to outweigh how much you could be saving by getting the subsidy. So the tax savings for the rest of your life, the tax-free compounding is going to happen, the lower RMDs, not having those huge RMDs in the future, that is likely in terms of dollars going to far outweigh saving a couple $100 or a few $100 every single month for 1 year alone. So you have to think about this because it definitely could increase your health insurance premiums and cause you to miss out on those ACA subsidies. But you got to look at the big picture and say, hey, is it worth it to pay more for my insurance in order to get more tax savings down the road so it's still a net positive? The next question is, Jacob, is there a particular age that I need to do Roth conversions, or is there an optimal way to do them? Or is there an age that once you get to a certain point in life that you probably shouldn't do Roth conversions? And this is an interesting question because you should always, in my opinion, be filling up that 10 and likely the 12% tax bracket, regardless of what age you are, whether it be through distributions or through Roth conversions or whatever it might be. And so if you have the opportunity to convert at really low tax rate, like 10 and 12%, I'd probably say, it's probably a good idea. But at some point, you are going to get to an age where your benefits are not going to be seen by you of the Roth conversion. So if you do Roth conversions at 80 and you live to 85, well, the benefits of doing a Roth conversion are typically later down the line through tax-free growth and having to earn back what you paid in taxes to get that money back into your accounts. And so there is a break-even point per se, I guess, on Roth conversions, and it typically takes a little bit of time to get there. So the best time to do Roth conversions whenever you're as young as possible. So in your gap years between when you retire up until Social Security starts, and definitely before you get to RMD age. And so that's when you want to optimally do Roth conversions, but it's not to say that you can't do them later in life. It just depends on if there's an actual benefit that you will realize, because you might not see the benefit, but your heirs or whoever's behind you might, due to tax-free inheritance. So think about that as you're evaluating when to do Roth conversions and the age that's most optimal for you. And finally, we hit on this in the video, but what is asset location and how does it work? Well, in short, asset location is whenever you invest your investments within each account type in a certain way to help maximize how that account type is being taxed. So you got 3 different account types that are going to be taxed different ways. You got a tax deferred, which whenever you take money out will be taxed as income. You've got tax free, like a Roth. So once you meet all the requirements and the rules there, the account being open for 5 years, you being over 59 and a half, every single dollar in that account is then tax free. Although the contributions that you put in originally are always going to be able to be taken tax free to you, because that's just a return of principal. So that's the tax free Roth account. And you have a taxable account like a brokerage account or a trust, and you're going to pay taxes every single year on that, whether it be from dividends or interest or long-term capital gains or whatever it might be. You have taxes every year. You're going to get a 1099 every single year, and it's not based on if you take money from the account. It's just based on if interest, dividends, or capital gains are generated within the account. So 3 different tax buckets. They're all taxed different ways. And so whenever you want to invest, each of those, in my opinion, each of those accounts should be invested differently. A tax-deferred account should be invested a little bit more conservatively, because if you think about it, you want that to grow a little bit less compared to Roth and brokerage if you have these other 2 account types, because if you grow it more, you're going to be building up a larger tax bill for yourself. And 2, no matter how that money is invested, whether it's in bonds or stocks or cash, every single time you take money out, it's going to be taxed as normal income. And while it's growing, it's tax sheltered. So no interest or dividend payments are happening in terms of how much tax you're having to pay on that while you're growing the account. Now, the Roth account, because it's tax-free growth and you get to take the money out tax-free, we want that one to grow as much as possible. So that's going to be aggressively invested. We want equities there instead of cash or bonds typically, because we want that one to grow as much as possible. And then for the brokerage account, which is going to be taxed every year, you want the least income producing assets within that. So you don't want very much cash if you can avoid it. You don't want a bunch of bonds if you can avoid it. You want, again, high growth assets like stocks or equities in that, so that number one, you have less income, interest coming in, but also less dividends as well. So you don't want to be a dividend investor in a brokerage account. If you can avoid it, hold the dividend investments in, again, that traditional IRA. So that's just a quick overview of asset location. Now, your ultimate portfolio could be a 60-40, 70-30, 80-20 mixed, amongst all of it, but every account could be invested completely differently to get to that result. So asset location is an easy win for almost everyone out there. Anyone can do it. You just have to take the time to realize how your money needs to be invested in each account type, and then make sure that you're doing it that way to help reduce your taxes every single year. So thanks for tuning into this week's video. I hope it was helpful as you analyze Roth conversions for you and avoid some of these mistakes. We'll see you in the next video.